Alright, I'll pull it
Do
up.
you want to go? Do you wanna start?
Okay,
You
sure.
know?
So they reduced resistances. They reduced resist reduction basically across the board everywhere, right? Um, Everywhere you could get it, you reduced. They reduced resistance reduction, but they didn't touch on enemy resists except for lifesteal resists. Um, and so really all that does, um, and Doom, well, Doom put it pretty well. I'm going to quote you, since I'm looking at your quote. Why did you guys
Mm.
decide not to reduce monster resists in Ultimate? If you're going to nerf our sources of resist reduction, you're just going to make us want resist reduction even more. And that perfectly sums up the point. If our access to resist reduction comes in smaller quantities but same frequencies, then we're just still going to flock to it, and we'll just be more inclined to flock to it because we're going to need more of it in order to perform well. And we're going
Yeah.
to need it to perform well because enemies have absurd resists.
May I chime in?
You may.
I'm so fucking frustrated. I'm not even mad. It's just like, holy shit, guys. Like, alright, really basically, resist reduction hasn't been made worse at all. It's still fucking amazing. We just have less of it. You still
Yeah.
want just as much of it, you just don't have it. So you're still gonna build it every time. There's just less. So it's changed. Like, clearly they're like, well, we need to make it less competitive with other things. Everyone's getting it. Let's just lower it. It's not. That's not the fucking issue. If they don't diversify monsters so that resist reduction is some more effect more effective against some than others, we're gonna get it for everything. It's a damage multiplier that works across the board and is more effective the more resist monsters have. The higher the resist of the monsters, the better resist reduction is mathematically. I've thrown the numbers on the forum so many times. It gets exponentially better the closer the monster's resist is to 100%.
Yeah, like, look at it this way. If a monster has, um, 50% resistance and you cut it down to 25% resistance, you've, like, doubled the damage you were doing against that monster. Whereas if a monster has 0% resistance and you take them to negative 25% resistance, you have not doubled the damage you're
You
dealing to that
haven't
monster.
doubled it, you've increased your damage by 50%, but still, that's fucking huge.
Yeah. So Xantai's reply is basically along the lines of what we're getting at. Debuff resist reduction effects can reduce resists below zero, effectively a damage multiplier, thus there is never a point where it is not desirable, no matter how low monster resists are. To which
Which is
General
it's
Cast replies, do you even math?
like guys. All right, let me be clear. We get it. Like, players can be shitheads to developers. We can be entitled little assholes. Like, I've seen so many forum posts where I'm like, what a dick. But like, he's not wrong.
No,
Like,
this is
mathematically,
entirely a math thing.
yeah, mathematically they're just incorrect. Like, yes, you like it's always good to have resist reduction. And don't get us wrong, that's why our responses can be a little confusing. We like that it's reduced. We were planning on reducing the numbers, but that's a half-assed answer because
Yep.
you also have to make it so that monster resists come down with it. In some cases, you want some high resist monsters and some low resist monsters. Jeez.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Like, honestly, the values that they selected for resistance reduction, fine. Like, I
Yeah.
like the new values a lot.
I could argue that some could even be a bit lower, but
Yeah,
I'm
probably.
I'm I'm mean though when it comes
Um,
to that.
but without changing monster resistances, this this change doesn't affect gameplay at all. If anything, it affects it negatively because now we just all flock even more toward resistance reduction.
Like, like, let me put it this way. From my point of view, I was never going to give you more than 10% resist reduction to any resist except in extreme cases. Or I was going to leave it on, like, I was going to leave it higher on Curse of Frailty because it's like a skill that you have to invest in and it defines a cultist. So I was fine with that. Um, but I was not at those numbers, but I was going to lower it less. But 10, like, I was going to lower everything to about 10 15. I like their 15s. Those are fine because they are extremely powerful. Right? Like, here's like the worst example. But say your monster has 100 resist, and now you've lowered it to 85. Well, you went from doing 0 damage to the bonus is infinite. So even if it's at 99% resist and you lower 15%, you've like multiplied your damage like hundreds of times over compared to what it was for that damage type.
Yeah.
Resist reduction is huge in the meta. Where what do you say the average resist for a monster is 43?
Yeah, in Ultimate, it gives every monster about 43 resistance to everything.
Like, for anyone still listening, for us rambling about this, thanks. We'll wrap it up. But think about that. We'll leave on that point. The average, not the highest, the average resist for a monster, like even trash mobs on Ultimate, is 43%.
And
The
that
average resist.
and that's kind of a lie too. That's 43% on top of whatever their base resistances are.
Yeah, so it's actually probably higher.
Yeah, so it's
In a lot of
probably around like 60 or 70%.
Yeah, so consider like let's be moderate. Let's say the average resist for monsters in Ultimate is 50%. You're doing half of your damage. Any resist reduction you're gonna get is fucking huge. Like, God, it changed nothing. It just made you weaker.
Yeah.
If their goal was to make monsters tankier, I guess
Well, I think that
success,
is kind
but
of their goal. If you've been reading Meteor's posts on the past couple of changelogs, he's kind of been hinting that he wants monsters to be taking more hits before they die. So,
yeah, which is fair, honestly, but this is the wrong way to do it. HP was the answer. Everyone
yeah,
hates HP cutting, but that was the answer here, not resist.
I kind of agree. Yeah.
All right,
Um,
moving on. I can't bear to think about it.